Crank up the volume and get ready for real-world bird hunting by listening to the Wingmen Podcast by Eastman's. Now your host, Todd Helms.
This episode's brought to you by Federal Premium. Guys, I've been shooting federal shot shells for a really long time. You know, whenever I had to scratch up money from whatever chores I had to do and jobs I had to do when I was a kid, I always grabbed a box of Federal Premium. It worked for me back then, and it still works for me today. Everything from the TSS heavyweight black cloud loads to the traditional black cloud loads to the blue box speed shock and now the new heavy bismuth loads. Federal's got a load out there for your price point, your budget, and your level of performance that you're looking for. So, be like me, reach for Federal. That is my unashamed opinion.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Wingmen Podcast, and this one's going to be a little bit different. It's a solo podcast. I had lots of feelers out for guests this week, and nobody could jump on with me, and that's okay. It's middle of October, and people are, actually, well, not middle of October, but early October, and people are hunting, and that's awesome. I'm glad that people can't jump on and have a podcast conversation because they're hunting. That's an awesome problem to have. So what I thought I'd do is we're trying to get you guys to write questions for us. When you have questions when you have questions about an episode or social media or YouTube, anything like that, type them in the comments on social media or in this podcast. If you're listening to it, obviously we'd love you to rate us and leave us a comment, but ask us questions. What do you want to know from an episode? You know, I think back to the Ed Arnett episode, the Sam Sohold episode that I've done recently. There had to be questions rolling around in your mind when you were listening to those, and jot them down. Take a second, jot them down. You can even email them to us if you want to. That would be cool. You can, any way that you can get us a question, I will do my best to answer it for you. And a few of you have been doing that very thing. And so not only do I want to encourage you to please ask questions as you're listening or as you're engaging with us on social media or YouTube, I am going to do my best to answer those questions in our podcast episodes. And so what I'm thinking, this format will probably evolve and change over time, but I'm thinking what I'm going to do is take a moment at the beginning of every podcast and answer the questions from the previous podcast. Or maybe at the end, I don't know. We're still rattling around with this, trying to figure it out. But it's something that we want to do for you, to give you some buy-in to what we're doing here at Wingmen with the podcast and our social media and our YouTube content as well. So ask us questions, in short. So I've got a list of questions here sitting in front of me, and a couple of them are off the podcast. You guys have asked a couple, but most of these are off of social media and YouTube. But a lot of what we do on YouTube also crosses over into the podcast. So here we go. We're going to answer some of these questions for you because there were some really good ones. So C Bulldog 22 asks, what's the one tip you'd give to someone who has never hunted before but wants to start? Whew. You know, a lot of the episodes that I have, a lot of the guests that I am fortunate enough to have on the podcast are have been lifelong hunters. Their families got them into it. Their dads, their uncles, their grandpas, whatever. They got them involved at a very early age, but not all of them. And it's really been interesting to see how these people have gotten into hunting in one way or another. You could say some of them later in life, some of them as they were kids but didn't have a family member. You know, I look at the way that I got involved in hunting, and it was a family tradition. It was just something that we did. I am blessed that way. And so I realize, though, that not everybody has that. And going back to C Bulldog 22's question, what's the one tip you'd give someone who's never hunted before but wants to start? I would say find somebody that you know hunts. And if you don't have any resources like that, go to a local sporting goods store. I don't care what it is, whether it's a big box store like Shields or Bass Pro or Cabela's, or if it's a small mom and pop store. Go there, start hanging around, start asking questions. You're probably going to meet some folks that are hunters, and the more you ask, the more kind of involved you get, then that kind of opens the door to maybe being able to, hey, can I just tag along? I want to see what this is like. You'd be amazed the number of people who will be willing to take you hunting. Having a hunting mentor, is probably the best way to shorten the learning curve and to experience success fairly quickly, and to have kind of a support system, a support group as well. Hunting can be tough. We can be hard on each other out there. And, you're going to make a lot of mistakes right from the start, and having a mentor to guide you down that path is super important. So I would say the number one piece of advice I would give for someone who's not a hunter but wants to get into it is find a mentor. Very closely behind that number one piece of advice is, if you can't find a mentor, you can't find anybody who's willing, I would say take a hunter safety course, get involved, get some basic understanding through a hunter safety course, and then get out and hunt. Learn as you go. Even with the family history and background that I had growing up, there was still a ton that I learned on my own, experiential learning, where I just went out and did stuff. And some of it worked, some of it didn't. To be honest, in the beginning, very little of what I was doing worked. And that would go for almost anybody. You're going to struggle. You're going to learn by the school of hard knocks, whether that's waterfowl or upland bird hunting or turkey hunting. It is hard. One of the things that is huge as far as advantages go in today's world is social media, especially YouTube. The amount of videos that we do on hunting, there's so much that you could glean just from the Wingmen videos, not to mention the wealth of other hunting videos that are out there that you could watch and pick up tips and try different things in the field. So go get a mentor, see Bulldog 22, go find a hunting mentor. If you can't do that, go take a hunter safety class, get involved, and just get out and do it and learn as you go. I think you're going to enjoy the process. Either way, we'd love to have you in the family of hunting that we call ourselves as hunters. So I hope that answers your question. See Bulldog 22. That's a good one. That's a great one to start with. This new approach.
Hey guys, this episode of the Wingmen Podcast is brought to you by High Mountain Seasonings. The folks down at High Mountain Seasonings in Riverton, Wyoming have had my business since before I started working at Eastman's, and way before Wingmen was even an idea in my head. I've been making homemade jerky and sausage and you name it, snack and sticks with their kits for a really, really long time. Having the pleasure a couple years ago to go down and take a factory tour and film that and do a duck hunt with one of the guys from the company, Brian Tucker, was a pleasure. They have such a cool operation down there in Riverton, Wyoming, and to think that their product from little old Riverton spreads out all over the country and into Canada is mind-blowing. I know they do business internationally as well, but it's incredible to me. I can go in so many different places, from the local grocery store to any of the big box sporting goods stores, and find that product. I can go in, I can grab a box, I can take it home, and I can, within 48 hours or 72 hours, I can have some of the best goose jerky known to man. I can put that on a plate, and you wouldn't know it's goose. I mean, a lot of guys be like, wow, this is amazing venison jerky. And it's like, hey, thanks. Yeah, you're eating goose. Like, what? This is goose? Thank you, High Mountain Seasonings. It's not just jerky kits, though, that those guys do. They have a whole ton of products. So I would recommend that you go over to highmountainjerky.com, and check out the full assortment of products that they've got down there in Riverton, Wyoming.
So this next question doesn't have an at to it, but it came in, it got forwarded to me through my email and just kind of passed down, and I got it that way. So, but it has to do with our Kryptek and gloves. As you guys know, this is the new Kryptek Flyway pattern, and I'm wearing it. I'm loving it, and it's pretty awesome. And they've got a whole awesome line of gear, and that's where this question comes in. It says, good tip. Thanks for the info. And this is off of social media, I guess, off Instagram. What glove from Kryptek would you recommend? You know, Kryptek's got a huge line of gloves out there to choose from, and as you guys have seen in our videos, in the Wingmen videos, I don't wear gloves very often. It can be single digits or in the teens, be really cold, and I won't be wearing gloves. That's me personally. However, when I do wear a glove, I like it to be fairly thin and fairly dexterous. I hate big clunky gloves that I can't do anything with. You know, there was a family friend of ours growing up. He's like, yeah, the only thing you can do good with gloves on is pee your pants. and man, have I found that to be true over the years. It seems like the gloves that keep your hands the warmest are also the hardest to do stuff with. And for me, the Kryptek Lycos fleece glove is the cat's meow. It's warm for its weight. It's very tactile. I have good feel in my fingers with that, and it's thin enough that I still have very good dexterity. I can feel what I'm doing. I can pick up individual shotgun shells and reload my gun. It doesn't jam up on controls on the shotgun when I'm running them, and it keeps my hands really warm. And like I said, I'm a little bit of a freak that way, in that my hands really don't get cold very easily. I mean, the rest of me doesn't either, but my hands really are kind of bulletproof, and I'm blessed in that regard. But if your hands get cold, Kryptek has a whole other line of gloves. I'd start with that Kryptek Lycos fleece glove and go from there. It's just a solid black glove. You can wear it for anything. You can wear it for hunting. You can wear it for out on the town, to whatever you want. And I think you're really going to be impressed with it. I know I am. That is my favorite glove in the Kryptek line. All right, so the next question comes from Hot Hussy, at Hot Hussy. Ooh, that's quite the name there you got. But anyway, here's your question. Again, it's another Kryptek question. So I'm looking for some pants or bibs that you can literally sit in the snow for extended times and not get wet. Go to the Kryptek website. Their website's completely been redesigned, and look at the late season gear. The Aegis bib. It's Aegis, the Aegis bib. It's the one that I wear for all my late season dryland hunts, whether it's deer, big game, or waterfowl, whatever it might be. That's been my go-to bib the last couple of years, and it is phenomenal. It's super warm. It's got a nice soft outer texture to it. Pretty sure that the guys are releasing it in the Flyway pattern, but it comes in all the great Kryptek camo patterns as well. That would be my pick. That Aegis bib, that Kryptek Aegis bib. It's the warmest bib that I've worn in a long time, and it is waterproof. It's especially in the seat, you're just not going to get that wet feeling to you. You're not going to soak up water. So that is the bib for you, Hot Hussy. By the way, that's HAUTEHUSSEY. That's quite the name. Anyway, so that is the Kryptek Aegis bib. That bib is, I've worn it on late season deer hunts, late season goose hunts, late season duck hunts. You name it, I've had it in the snow, it's a great bib. It's going to keep you warm. It's going to keep you dry. So go to the Kryptek website. check that thing out. I do know that there's plans for some waterfowl specific items coming up in this pattern, and they're not out yet, but a little birdie over there at Cryptek told me that they're on the way. So stay tuned for those. I'm excited to see where all that comes from, but yeah, man, the Cryptek Aegis bib is what you're driving at there. All right, so the next question is Wesley Rice 8350. Whereabouts was this filmed? General area suffices. Sorry for the southern drawl there, or my poor attempt at one there, Wesley Rice 8350. But whereabouts was this filmed? General area, east of the Rockies and west of the rest, to quote one of my favorite Corb Lund songs. No, in all seriousness, we do the bulk of our filming in the state of Wyoming, fairly close to our home. We do travel as much as possible. I've had the good fortune to go to Iowa on a turkey hunt. Last fall, we were in Saskatchewan filming geese. That hunt is available on the Eastman's Hunting Journal's YouTube channel. You've seen snippets of it on social media. We get to travel all over the place. We hunt Montana quite a bit. We've hunted Oklahoma. We are fortunate. So if you watch a Wingmen YouTube video, you're probably, chances are, if it's a waterfowl-based video, it's either in Montana or it's in Wyoming. And that's all I'm going to say about that. My plan is to continue to expand our content and where we film into, I'd like to go back to Canada. I kind of have tentative plans for that in the spring to shoot some snow geese. I've got some tentative plans to do some out-of-state turkey stuff, but we will see how the cookie crumbles with all of that. So, yeah, man, I hope Wesley Rice 8350, I hope that answers your question. Whereabouts was this film? General area suffices. East of the Rockies and west of the rest. So there you go. All right. P. Larson 111 asks or says, how do you feel about wearing dark, solid colored waders when duck hunting? This is in regards to the Shen wader review that Scott Reekers did. We will be updating our Shen review. I'm looking forward to taking a look at some of the kind of a expanded look at some of the line of what they offer, especially some of their newer items that they've come out with this year. But back to the wader question, P. Larson 111, how do I feel about wearing dark, solid colored waders when duck hunting? I feel just fine about it. I feel dry and warm, and that's all thanks to the awesome waders that Shen builds. Honestly, though, I think I know what you're getting at with, they're not a camouflage pattern. The solid colored ones a model ago were black. The new ones are brown from Shen. I don't know if I'm getting new brown ones. I hope that I'm getting new brown ones, but we'll see. But the black ones have worked just fine. And here's kind of the philosophy behind a black wader. I had the man himself from Shen on the podcast a few episodes back, and you can go back and listen to that episode and hear his explanation of it. But what I've experienced with it is this. Most of the time, you're either standing in water with a black look to it, dark look to it, or you're in shadows, or you're covered up in a blind that is dark on the inside or should be dark on the inside anyway. And it has not affected the number of birds that I have shot one iota. So a black wader, dark like that, man, if you're hunting flooded timber, it's going to blend in with the dark shadows and that dark water. If you're hunting marshlands, you're probably going to be sitting or standing. And really, if you pull your camouflage jacket over the top of that wader, it's only from the waist down or even below the waist down that your waders are showing. And so if you look at a cattail marsh, for example, the lower you look at the cattails, closer to the surface of the water or the base of the cattails, it's dark. There's a lot of shadows in there. And so that black wader just becomes another shadow. I have had zero issues with it. We shoot a lot of birds every year. I shot a lot of birds wearing those waders last year, most of them in a blind, which I try to build my blinds so they're in shadow most of the day, most of the morning at least. And the dark wader you just become part of the dark shadow in the blind. So not a problem there. If I was wearing them, say like a buckbrush type of environment, again, the water's dark. And the bottom, from your top down, naturally vegetation creates shadows. Like I said, the cattail marsh, but even in buckbrush, the closer you get to the surface of that water, kind of the darker things look. And so, yeah, I don't see a problem with it. The only place where a black wader, kind of like a black lab, might be troublesome is if you were hunting in like all snow environment where everything was really white. That might be an issue, but man, even then, I think you just look like a black lump of something. It's not something that I would be terribly worried about. And like I said, I have had zero problems with the black Shen wader, and nor has anyone that I've talked to that wears them. So that answers that question, but this is a multiple question thing. Do you feel like the birds can see you more? No, I don't. This person says, I thought about these waders and wanted them in solid, but I'm wearing that dark color. They used to have a solid that color. It was green or olive. I just might wait until they come out with something like that again. That's a hint for you guys at Shen. I know this current solid model you have is more of a mud brown. You guys may want to consider an olive drab material or color if that seems to be what folks want. But again, P. Larson 111, no problem with the black. I haven't had any issues. So if you're still haven't pulled the trigger on the Shen waders because you're waiting for a new model, check out the brown ones on the website. If you can't get those, the black ones you'd have no problem with. So pull the trigger, man. You're not going to be disappointed. They're awesome waders.
Hey guys, this episode of the Wingmen Podcast is brought to you by Juniper Mountain Coffee. Juniper Mountain Coffee brings to market premium coffee. There's coffee, there's good coffee, and then there's premium coffee. And Juniper Mountain is bringing you premium level coffee. I thought I'd had good coffee until I took a sip of the first mug of Juniper Mountain coffee, and I could taste the difference. I was blown away, and you guys are going to be too. I'm super stoked to be partnered with them. I love companies that have a similar shared ethos as us. And check out Juniper Mountain Coffee and all the things they do. You're going to be as impressed with the product as I am.
Next question. Unali 5663. Which tastes better, chicken or pheasant? And I know what posts and video you're thinking of right now. So we put together a Pheasants Aren't Native video quite a few years back now. And on YouTube, it's experienced moderate success, but on Facebook, that video has done almost 9 million views. And a lot of those views have come from overseas. And there's a lot of questions. I could probably do three podcasts just on the comment section of that video alone. There's a lot of hate, obviously, but I don't let that bother me. Kind of water off a goose's back. But which tastes better, chicken or pheasant? Dude, that's not even a contest. It's pheasants all day long. Pheasants just have more flavor than chicken. I'm not a chicken guy. I'll eat it if it's the only thing around, only thing available. But if you give me the choice between pheasants and chicken, I'm taking pheasants all day long. And I think probably most of you listening to this podcast would agree with me. But that leads me into a kind of a rabbit trail off of this question. And I'm going to ask you guys to ask your questions here. What's your favorite game meat? What's your favorite wild bird meat? For me, it's going to be mallards, man. It's going to be a big corn-fed, fat mallard cooked like a ribeye steak, rubbed down with some nice rub, maybe finished with a sprinkle of brown sugar. Oof. Season can't get here quick enough. I love eating ducks. Ducks are my favorite. Of the ducks, I would say wood ducks are number one, teal are number two, and mallards are number three for me, because that's what I get the most. I get teal and I get mostly mallards around here. So we eat a lot of mallard ducks, and they're just awesome. They're just awesome. Phil Robertson, the Duck Commander, years and years ago, I think it might have been Duck Commander 4. That was the one where, I'm pretty sure it's the one where he shot the deer from the duck blind and it did the big old cartwheel in the water. It was crazy, crazy video, but he ranks ducks by edibility, by what he likes, to kind of getting to this question again. And he ranks his ducks, woodies, teal, I think he put gadwalls next, and then mallards, if I remember right. It's been a while. But for me, it's woodies, which we see very few of in Wyoming, teal, and mallards. So in all practicality, for me, it's mallards, man. But back to that question, pheasant all day long. I don't care if it's fried, you make it pheasant fingers, pheasant nuggets, pheasant fritters, pheasant gumbo, pheasant jambalaya. I love pheasants, especially when it comes comparing them to chicken. I would rather eat pheasants 1,000 times before I ate chicken. One bite of it. Anyway, that's me, though. But what about you? What's your favorite wild game bird meat? Super stoked to hear. M. Kodum 88. Would you recommend Cornerstone for an upland dog? And he's referring to, or that person, is referring to Cornerstone Gun Dog Academy. I know last time I talked to Barton, we kind of chatted about this a little bit, and there was scuttlebutt that Cornerstone was going to come up with an upland-specific version or program to Cornerstone, to the programming. But the 52 Plus is what I used to train Hondo. At least I got him started. We've expanded since then, obviously. But, yes, in a nutshell, Cornerstone is a great all-around training program for any dog breed. I want my dogs to be kennel trained. Cornerstone does that. I want my dogs to heel. Cornerstone does that. I want my dogs to come and sit and just have basic obedience. Cornerstone does that. And yeah, when it comes to upland birds, I want my upland bird dog to retrieve. Cornerstone will help with that as well. It's not just for retrievers. I know that it's retriever specific, but it's not just for that, guys. You could use it for your upland dog. In fact, I hate to even say this, but Mackinaw's 11, and he's not fully retired, but he doesn't see a lot of service anymore. He's going to see some again this fall, but Hondo's doing the bulk of the hunting now. And when Mackinaw passes, my next dog will more than likely be some sort of a bird dog, whether it's an English pointer or a French Brittany. I haven't made up my mind yet, but I'm kind of hard set on one of those two. And I will definitely be using Cornerstone in the beginning phases, especially with that upland bird dog. Now, beyond that, some of the hunt training specifics, I think that's where the guys, and Barton, I'm talking to you, where the guys are looking at creating more of an upland style platform. I don't know if that's in the works. I don't know. We will see. But the cool thing is Cornerstone, that 52 Plus especially, is going to get you and your upland bird dog dialed in the very basic things that you need to be doing right off the get-go. Obedience and crate training and all these things that you want any dog to do. I don't care if it's a hunting dog or just a pet. If I bought a German Shepherd, and trust me, guys, if I didn't live in town, if I lived out in the country, I'd have a menagerie, man. I'd have all different kinds of dogs. I'd probably have sled dogs. But yeah, if I had a German Shepherd, I would obedience train it with Cornerstone. 100%. So I hope that answers your question. Codum88. And thank you for writing that in. Check out Cornerstone, guys. Keep an eye on that. All right, so the next question comes from Evo Erics 3518. Says, my question is, how did you get the person's number? Because I have also tried to contact landowners, and OnX does not give you the phone number. All right, so that question is from an older video tip that I did for contacting landowners and the protocol surrounding it using OnX Hunt, the app specifically. And you're right, OnX doesn't give you phone numbers, but, in today's day and age, it gives you a name and an address. Usually I can type that address into OnX, and it'll take me to that person's residence, and I can go knock on a door and have a face-to-face meeting. Sometimes it doesn't do that. Sometimes you'll see landowners that are not residents of the state, where they own land that you're trying to hunt. That makes it tough. But what it's going to do is it's going to tell you, kind of who owns it, and I can always Google that person or put them into, Facebook, and I can come up with some amazing information pretty quick. Most people are pretty quick to respond to social media direct messages. Facebook Messenger has landed me more hunting permission than just about anything. I can type in a person's name and where they live, and they pop up on, if they have a Facebook account, it pops up, and I can shoot them a direct message in Facebook Messenger and have a conversation, get a phone number, have a direct phone call, meet up to have coffee or lunch or you name it. But what I'm really getting at with all of this is, OnX doesn't give you phone numbers, but it gives me a point of contact. And that's the most important thing when it comes to getting permission for hunting, which, guys, I know is getting harder and harder and harder. All my buddies that still live back in the Midwest, in Michigan specifically, say, man, all that stuff we used to hunt back in high school and college and, when we were young, all that stuff is gone, man. It's either been leased or it's been sold and the new owner won't let anybody hunt, or even the landowner just doesn't let anybody on anymore. It's getting harder and harder, and I realize that. But there's some protocols that come along with getting that point of contact through OnX, and they all have to do with being respectful of a landowner and being courteous. All those things go a long way. Even if you're told no, just if this is from the sales world, but if you can't make a sale, you can make a reputation. And how you handle being turned down to getting a piece of property is going to speak volumes about your character and about your integrity and about who you are. And just because that landowner told you no once doesn't mean that they're completely, obviously some are like, no, get off my property. That's a pretty firm no. But if it's just I don't know, probably not right now, or, somebody else already has it, that's an opportunity for you to come back and get permission later at a later time. And if you handle yourself well, and if you're respectful and courteous, guess what? You're probably going to get told yes the next time. Don't go downtown to the cafe and start bad-mouthing the landowner. I asked for permission. That jerk told me no. What does that gain you? It doesn't gain you anything. It's going to hurt your reputation. It's going to probably get back to the landowner in these small little towns, and you're never going to get permission no matter what. And you may have burned anybody else getting permission for that spot as well. So no, OnX doesn't give you phone numbers. There's ways around that. You can look them up. You can Google them. You can find them on Facebook or social media somewhere, and then you can arrange a meeting or talk to them through Messenger, or messaging, I should say. And more than anything, though, OnX gives you that point of contact, which is huge, and then you can go from there. But, man, have some class. Have some class. Be respectful. Be courteous. Look good. Don't walk up to the door in sweat and a dirty hoodie. And if you can help it, look Clean cut, look respectful, be respectful. Yes, sir. No, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. All that stuff goes a long way. But don't patronize either. You know, people can tell when you're being fake too. So, yeah, it's just kind of an art, but you'll figure it out. Keep after it. All right. So, another Shen gear question. Joaquin Ornelas, 6572 asks, I'm undecided on the tall size. I'm 6'2 to 6'3, 290. You play like right guard for University of Michigan? Dang, big boy. I hate dragging in water with extra tall inseams. My question is, do you feel that the tall size is for someone your height, which I am 5'11", and beyond, or are you maxing out the tall size for your height? Okay, that's coming from the Shen Gear review, the Shen Wader review that Scott Reekers did. Scott is 6'5", almost 6'6". He's a big, big dude. He'd be, a tight end if he could catch a ball. Anyway, there's a dig on Reekers, but anyway, I digress. Joaquin, I would say that in that tall size, Scott's not maxing them out, but he's probably pretty close. Your height, 6'2 to 6'3", I don't think the tall would be too much, but if you can go someplace where Shen, or you could try them on, I would recommend that. Try on the regular inseam and try on the tall. I have a hunch that the regular is probably going to be what you want. At 5'11", I wear the regular, and I have a lot of room. I have a lot of room to grow. Well, unfortunately, the only way I'm going to grow is out, not up, but that's neither here nor there. Yeah, man, I would say try them on if you can, but I don't think the tall is going to be too much. If you had to decide, I would order the talls, and if they're not right, send them back. Shen will exchange them for you. If I know one thing about Shen Gear and their products, they will 1,000% stand behind them. They pride themselves on their customer service, and they will get you taken care of. So I think it's a no-brainer purchase. Order the talls. If they don't fit, get the regulars. That's what I would do. You're kind of in that in between at 6'2", 6'3", and 290. Whew, you're a big dude, man. Anyway, you can be on my team on a public land duck hunt any day, Joaquin. So there's that. But next question, Jerry Murphy, 9524. How long do these last without freezing? And can they be frozen for long-term use? And that is from a YouTube video that we did a while back. On the High Mountain Seasonings snack and sticks using waterfowl, ducks and geese to make meat sticks, snack and sticks. They're going to last about 2 weeks in your refrigerator. 2 to 3. Depends on if they're vacuum sealed. If they're vacuum sealed, they'll last a little longer. If once you open a package of them, I'd say 2 weeks, maybe 3. Tops, you want to get them eaten up. If you're like me, you can't resist those things anyway, so they're not going to last long. If I've got meat sticks, especially waterfowl meat sticks made with High Mountain in the fridge for more than about 2 days, there's a problem because I probably have the flu or something. But 2 weeks, I'd say that'd kind of be where I'd go. If you smoke them and vacuum freeze them, they're going to last a little longer. The smoking over the oven, smoke is more of a preservative than just straight up drying, and so they will last a little longer there. But yeah, about 2 weeks. And yes, you can freeze them for long-term use. What I like to do is I'll package a dozen of them or 2 dozen of them into a vacuum bag, and I'll vacuum seal them. And then on the outside of the bag, I'll write what they are. Say it's the sweet and sassy or sweet and spicy mix with goose. 2023. I'm going to write that in Sharpie on the perimeter of the bag, not on the bag itself, and vacuum seal it. And I will leave those in the freezer for a year and pull them out the next year so this is how I try to use up waterfowl because our big game seasons out west come first, September, October, and early November, most of them, I'm not hunting waterfowl until later in the year. So as I'm making waterfowl products, using up birds that I shoot and putting them in the freezer, I might not get a package out until September of the next year to take on an archery elk hunt, for example, or next spring to take on a spring turkey hunt or a bear hunt, or they might be in the freezer a while is what I'm driving at. And I've never had a bag, when I vacuum seal them, I've never had a bag that was bad. I've never had freezer burn. I've never had any of that. They're literally just as good as the day I made them. And so, yes, about 2 to 3 weeks in the fridge. If you freeze them, I mean, they don't last more than a year in my freezer, but I would imagine they could be in there for quite a while. Just depends on what you're using for your fat mixture with that. But I hope that answers that question, and it's a nice tip of the hat to High Mountain Seasonings. So Funny Biscuit 322 asks, what the point of killing them? What do you use them for? And this is from a social media reel about our Alberta goose hunt from last year. And Funny Biscuit 322, if you're not a bot and you're dead serious about this question, I think this goes without saying, and I'm going to try to be respectful here. But sometimes I just want to, I want to be sarcastic and mean, but I don't think it's going to get me anywhere ultimately. So what the point of killing them? What do you use them for? We eat them. That's what we do with all of the animals that we kill. We eat them, whether it is a white-tailed deer, a widgeon, a Canada goose, pheasants, black bears from northern Alberta, elk, deer. I mean, you name it, man. We hunt because we like to eat meat. That's not the only reason, obviously, but that is one of the benefits. We have a saying around the office on the Eastman side of things, on the big game side, that trophy hunting is conservation. The term trophy hunting has been hijacked by animal rights extremists, and it's into thinking that, that people just kill stuff and take the hide and the antlers and leave everything else. And that is, quite frankly, that's bullshit. And I hope you can sense how upset I get by that. When I get comments or questions like this, I feel bad for the person that's writing that question and commenting, because they obviously have zero grasp on how the real world works. They've been brainwashed by Disney or some other left-wing radical environmentalist animal rights group pushing out propaganda to end all regulated hunting, whether it's trophy hunting, which is just selective harvest. I'm looking for a specific animal, and I'm going to enjoy the hide and the antlers and the teeth and the claws and the skull, but I'm also going to consume every edible portion of that animal as well. Goes the same for birds, especially geese. We eat them. We make jerky out of them. We make breakfast sausage out of them. We make salami and snack sticks. I eat them like steak. I grind them up into burger for my kids. If they get freezer burned and they're not edible for me, my dogs eat them. I grind them up raw into the dog food. We eat them in a nutshell. I had Corey Loeffler on the podcast probably a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. And if you guys know anything about Corey, man, that dude literally lives off the land. He's one of the last few people I know that truly does it. He renders goose fat from snow geese, and that's the cooking oil that they use. He grows a massive garden every year that he's very, very good at. He goes to Texas every year and kills 15 or 20 pigs, and that's that's the pork that they have. He hunts deer, he hunts big game, elk, you name it, and he lives on all that. And while I'm not at the level that Corey Loeffler is, we do too. On my freezer, I'm looking at the first week in October, and the only thing I have left in my freezer from last year's big game and waterfowl seasons is elk burger. That's it. No, I lied. I have turkey legs left. I still have thighs and drumsticks from the wild turkey I shot in Wyoming last year. But that's it, guys. I'm living off burger. I have some canned meat that we do a lot of as well. In fact, I had canned elk and scrambled eggs with some cheese on it and some fresh garden salsa I made this morning for breakfast. But yeah, to answer your question, Funny Biscuit 322, we eat them. We celebrate their lives through eating them and fueling our own lives as part of the natural cycle and natural order of things. We put their antlers on the wall. We keep feathers as mementos, take pictures of them and frame them. These animals are not wasted, if that's what you're getting at. And like I said, I feel bad for you, Funny Biscuit 322, because you obviously have no idea how the real world works, and you've gotten so far from the roots of humanity that you don't even know where your food comes from anymore. If you're not a vegetarian and you're going to the grocery store, well, guess what? That animal grew up in a environment that was a lot less free and a lot less amazing than the ones that the animals I'm eating are. And I'm not gonna start taking digs at anybody's food preferences or how that food came about and raised. But yeah, man, we eat them. That's what we do. We celebrate them. Thank you for the question. I hope I made a dent there. Wow, that's serious. Heavy. The Barber Show says, good info. Question for you. Your audio is great. Is that from the GoPro? And that, again, that's just from a video. I would hope our audio is great on these podcasts. We try really hard to make it great. But this is from another video that we do. And no, it's not from a GoPro. We have two sources of audio on all the videos we shoot. One is a shotgun mic. It's kind of a fuzzy thing that's on top of all of our cameras, and it works exceptionally well unless it's windy. And even if it's not windy, I'm usually wearing some sort of a lapel mic. Wire goes up through underneath my clothing, and it'll be pinned to my collar somewhere on my person. And that's how we get our top-notch audio. It's really important to us that we're not just using GoPros. GoPros are great. They create awesome additional camera angles, but we don't want to rely on those. That's not who we are. We try to stay true to our wildlife filming roots that Gordon Eastman instilled in us through the Eastman's brand. And we try to bring you the highest quality video and audio that we possibly can on those videos. But that's a good question. That's how we do it, man. There's nothing wrong with GoPro, like I said. But if you're looking for that next level sound and video quality, invest in some good equipment, good camera, good mic. You won't be disappointed. All right. At Crunch Freeze asks, when are you coming back to Berta? Oh, Crunch Freeze. This is Curtis Friesen, who's one of the guides that I hunted with last year up in Alberta. Curtis, as much as I would have liked to come back this fall and hunt with you back in the beginning of September like I did last year, wasn't able to. Doesn't mean it's not in the plans. I would love to get back up there and do that hunt again, but I don't know when. Better question, Curtis, is when are you coming down here to hunt ducks and geese with me? Invite stands, brother. Come on down. All right, J.L. Matthew. What over and under you shooting? Looks nice. That is from the most recent YouTube video review that we have done, and that is on the Sawyer brand of products right there. Sawyer, namely being for Wingmen, being their line of insect repellents, and whether it's stuff you could spray on your clothes like the permethrin or the DEET product. I did a review in the field on a September dove hunt. Early September dove hunt, and stuff works phenomenal. But this guy's asking about the over and under I was shooting. I was shooting the Stevens 555 over and under 12 gauge shotgun. That we are partnered with Savage Arms, and the Stevens brand falls under their umbrella. And so their over and under shotgun, the 555, It is, man. He says it looks nice, and it is a very nice shotgun. It's got an aluminum receiver. It's got A-grade walnut, and it shows. It is the wood-to-metal fit on it, and phenomenal. The wood finish, the metal finish, it's just a phenomenal shotgun. Super light in the hand. If you're looking for an upland gun to carry around chasing pheasants or grouse, it comes in everything from 12 gauge all the way down to 410. 16, 28, 20 and 28 and 410. And guys, they're light, and they come in at a price point that I think you're going to be really impressed with. You can find them. I was at Shields a couple weeks ago. They had one. They had a whole line of them, actually. So check them out. I think you guys will like that. It's the Stevens 555 over and under shotgun. Guys, that wraps up. Wow. That wraps up the questions. You guys put it to me on those ones. And like I said, we're just getting started with this platform. And I want to encourage you, when you're listening to a podcast or when you're listening to this podcast or any podcast that we do for that matter that I do, and a question pops in your head, man, write it down in the comments. Let us know, and I will promise you that I get to that question and I answer it for you. And that can be anything. It could be serious gear-related questions like some of these. It can be more, talking about ideals, like why are you killing all these birds? It could be those questions. It could be tactics related. Whatever questions you have, guys, I would love to see you drop them in the comments of these podcasts. I will continue to mine social media as well, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, and try to bring you more answers to your questions. This was fun. I enjoyed this, and I hope you guys got something out of it. But remember, jot down questions. Ask me. I will do the best I can to answer them for you. And until next time, guys, hey, we'll see you in the field.